What's up, guys? We are back. James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin, and welcome to another live session of 410 Sports Talk. As always, DK on the sticks, running things in the background. We are excited to get into it, Glenn. It feels like it's been forever. Hopefully, everyone had a nice Memorial Day weekend.
Yep.
But I've been itching to get back on the mic. I'm sure you as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I mean, lots of news stirring around. We're still kind of all right before the mandatory stuff starts hitting, and the news really starts churning out. Just a lot of speculation right now. But I think we should start with a little bit of NFL news, and we got to start with what's becoming one of the most intriguing offseason, bits of tension that we've seen in a long time, and it has Aaron Rodgers pitted against his own team in the Green Bay Packers. And while it looks like the Packers are still, in hopes that they can mend fences, the last news I heard this morning is that A-Rod still has no plans to return. And certainly I think June 8th is the first time it's the mandatory session for him to arrive. So I guess that's the big date, but it doesn't look like they're any closer to getting this back together.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, it's crazy and it's not, in that I think that he's going to end up on a different team. But the Packers are really groveling at his feet at this point, right? Like, they have nothing left to do. I think they've overplayed their hand. Mm-hmm. Look, for Aaron, it's not all, the money's not going to put him in a different neighborhood, like we've said before in the past. But it's a principle. And saying, look, I want to be your quarterback of the future. If you don't want me as your quarterback of the future, then let's move on. It's crazy to me. They were literally not banking on, to me, a first ballot Hall of Famer having a good season last year. It's crazy to think that the monkey wrench in this was his MVP.
Yeah.
Like, he played too well.
How did they find themselves in this situation? It's so weird because we all remember when Brett Favre was there, and it was an awkward departure for him. And now it looks like we could be down the same road. And really, I don't know what's more incredible, the fact that they've now fallen out of the graces with another Hall of Famer, a first ballot Hall of Famer, or the fact that they had two of the greatest quarterbacks in history. Isn't it crazy? And this is a little bit off topic, but isn't it crazy they only have 2 rings to show for having Brett Favre and his 20-year career, however long he played for? It seemed like forever. And then all that Aaron Rodgers has given to the game, and only 2 championships to speak of. And when you look at the history of quarterbacks in Baltimore, the fact that we've matched them in that same amount of time with the 2 championships, I think it's kind of crazy. But I mean, I guess it shows you need more than just a great quarterback to win it all. But yeah, I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Here's the thing. Would they be willing to hold out and say, look, fine, A-Rod, if you don't want to come back and play, you're going to sit, you're going to lose a whole bunch of money. We're going to see what we have in Jordan Love. And if you want to come back next year, hopefully we'll have a better trade offer for you next year. I mean, do you think that they'd be willing to do that kind of hardball?
I don't know, man. It's going to have such a trickle down effect, right? And not only in the vets in the locker room, but also in the pressure on Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this kid is at a Utah State. Let me tell you something, man. There's nothing up there. This is not like they didn't play. He played hardly anyone. They got him all on potential with plenty of roadway and this, that, and the other. And now they're expecting him to go out there and perform. Like, people talk about other guys being raw and other guys coming out of small schools. But, Mahomes was raw, but Texas Tech is I mean, you're playing in Texas. Football is a religion, right? Mm-hmm. Where you're going to Utah State, where you're the third fiddle behind, 2 other universities. You get no airtime and not a ton of competition. So, man, that's a serious jump. And I don't know how much faith they have in this kid. And I think that's part of their desperation to get back to Aaron.
Well, you think that's also why they brought in Blake Bortles?
To save the day. Blake Bortles! Oh, geez.
But what's crazy about this is, how do you not know that he's going to have a great year? Like, how do you not expect? I mean, I just don't get why you bring in Jordan Love. I mean, look, this was the down year that we were talking about. The down year for Aaron Rodgers was 4,000 yards passing, 26 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. That's the year he had in 2019. And by the way, the year before that, he had 4,400 yards passing with 25 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions.
Jeez.
I mean, and then of course this year he had 48 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. I mean, just that number is so ridiculous. Almost 71%
and the consistency of it is ridiculous.
Yeah, every year. I mean, it's like he said when a couple months ago, my bad year is a career year, and it's so true. His bad year was 26-4.
Right.
It's crazy. So I don't know what they saw that made them think they needed to start prepping for the future and getting his replacement on the roster. I really don't understand what they were thinking by bringing him in, because it's no indication that he was slowing down. And the way quarterbacks are playing late in their career, not many could match his athleticism to start with. So even if he loses some of it, he's still going to be more athletic than Big Ben and Tom Brady and a bunch of other guys out there. I don't know what they were thinking, but it's going to be interesting to see once these mandatory stuff happens in a week, just how, who wins the staring contest.
Yeah, man, it's insane. And I always think about Aaron's, familial relationships, and certainly, he's a stubborn guy, and he digs his heels in and doesn't seem to move. But I will say this in Aaron's defense, I think that everyone talks about Tom Brady as is the ultimate superstar because he allows himself to be coached, and that's the ultimate example. Where I think that Aaron's his fair share of times, while maybe not from the coaching staff, but like from the organization, they've put him in his place, if you will, and he's taken it and performed, right? Like they haven't let him, run the whole organization. He's the quarterback. He hasn't really delved into any of the other things that a lot of other quarterbacks end up doing as far as bringing in personnel, this, that, and the other. And so, hey, man, it's going to be so interesting. It's a unique organization in the way that they're structured and the way they're running their history. And Aaron is a unique guy. So but man, I think he ends up in Denver. I think Elway gets in there, throws all his chips on the table and says, look, just take all of them, whatever. Just tell me what you want. I want Aaron Rodgers. End of story. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that. I could see Gruden. I could see Gruden going after him, man. I mean, wanting to make a splash, wanting to build that fan base in Vegas. I mean, absolutely. I just want to give it. Hey, Dave Nance, is this the Dave Nance that saw us on the streets of Baltimore? I need to know if this is the Dave Nance.
We need a confirmation, Dave.
Absolutely. J-Dub, what's going on? Adit Mahmood, appreciate you coming out. Billy Seals, what's up? What's up, Dwayne? Appreciate you guys coming out. Yeah, it's shocking that they've only gotten the one title, but yeah, I mean, let's just wait. I guess wait and see what happens. But man, if somehow he gets moved, it would absolutely blow my mind. And then he's starting talking about super teams.
Yes, the infamous Dave Nance. Sorry,
it is. That's what's up, man. That's awesome. That's really cool. But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. But what would you think too? I've heard some rumblings of players wanting to try and get together and all go in one destination, like they see in the NBA, the super teams. What are your thoughts on us starting to see that kind of stuff leak over into the NFL?
I just think there's so much more nuance in the number of teams and in the complication of the contracts and the lack of leverage that players have, even though they're, generating more leverage or creating more leverage for themselves, they're leaps and bounds away from the NBA and the leverage that they have. So, I mean, as far as seeing it on TV, I mean, I guess I'm okay with it, but it also makes it more difficult in that there's a hard cap, right? Where some teams in the NFL will pay the luxury tax. If I'm not mistaken, the NBA, like the Cavs, every year after the team has won the championship where LeBron is at, the team ends up paying the luxury tax because so many guys get paid, right? Like, so just from winning the championship, but if teams are willing to do it, they're willing to do it, and other teams aren't. So I'm not against it. I just don't know if the probability of it is very high. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see moving forward how the dynamic of look at that. Look at sneak preview over here. Snafu. But certainly gonna be interesting. I'm interested to see the evolution of the NFL as far as contracts, because those guys. It's funny because entertainers. I love Kevin Hart. And he talks about how he tried to hang out with Dwayne Wade for like 3 weeks. Yeah. And he's like, I had to stop because I didn't have NBA money. Yeah. Like that man, I'm calling my bank and they're like, sir, you can only make a transfer of $500 2 times a week. And I'm like, wait a second here. Yep. I feel like the NFL players.
I think he has it, by the way. He has NBA money now.
He might have NBA money.
Kevin Hart, guys, I mean, there was a stretch there where he was on every time I turned the TV on, I saw Kevin. Yeah, on a movie, a TV show. He was doing the NBA weekend.
He has NBA money. He doesn't have LeBron money, but NBA money, yes.
Yeah,
certainly.
right. Not many have LeBron
That's true.
money.
That's true. But I guess I'm
Raider Carlos, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
They're taking a beat down in Vegas. We're going out to the desert for a business trip.
Yeah,
and it's going to be bad news bears for the silver and black. Don't forget this.
Yeah. Yes. Timestamp this, and if it goes bad for us, we'll still be here. Don't worry. But we feel pretty confident. But anyway, I just want to say that I feel like the NFL players see the NBA players, and they're like, they have that same feeling. Mm-hmm. And so they want to get there. But look, there's quarterbacks can't keep up taking up so much money if the whole league wants to get there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like in the NBA, you only need, I mean, if you can put together 3 superstars,
that's it.
You can fill the roster with a bunch of minimums and make a run.
Guys that are willing to pay, they already got their payday, they're vets, and they're willing to go make less to get a ring. So,
yep.
Well, go ahead.
No,
I was gonna say, I think it'd be a good time to transition into Ravens talk because we got a lot of people in here already, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah,
but before we do, I want to do 2 things. And Glenn and DK, I totally forgot to mention this pre-show. Mm-hmm. But one of the things I think is cool about this show that we have that is still insane for me to think about, Glenn, is that we have a platform.
Yeah,
like
wild.
When Glenn and I started this, guys, we were literally in my parents' basement because they had an empty room, and so we would drive to my parents' basement house and set up some mics and hit it and set, and send out the pod. And then obviously we hopped over to YouTube, but we have a legitimate following thanks to all you guys and hopefully you enjoy it. But one of the things I want to briefly talk about is I think it's really cool to talk about things that are happening in the community. And I have a close friend, if you'll allow me to really quickly, Glenn, I have a friend who's he's the executive director of a program called Move for Life. And what they do is they help underserved communities find ways to live more healthy lives. So, the number one contributor to obesity in America is money. That's what it really is at the end of the day because people don't have access to resources, right? Mm-hmm. So just wanted to give a shout out to Move for Life. It's a fun repository that helps low-income people in Maryland receive high-quality fitness, health, and wellness services that Medicaid and Medicare don't help out with. Move for Life works with local community-based organizations as service providers to help individuals in need. So if you want to make a tax-deductible donation, go to their website, moveforlife.org. Or if you're a fitness junkie, which I think this is really cool, they have an annual fundraiser called the Super Soldier Series CrossFit competition, and I will be doing it next year. It pays tribute to people that have served in the military or as first responders and is open to anyone. It's down in Columbia, Maryland. It's a really cool contest. So go check it out, moveforlife.org. But I wanted to give that shout out real quick. JDub45, you're absolutely right with your food deserts. But I digress. I just wanted to give a shout out to them. I think what they're doing is awesome. And I wanted to, provide them with some additional airtime because I think it's really cool what they're doing. So go check it out, moveforlife.org. And next year, Glenn's going to be there to cheer me on. I
might be running myself.
It's a CrossFit competition.
Oh, yeah, no. Nope.
So I'll get TJ in with me.
There you go.
And we can throw down. But certainly Glenn will be there for moral support.
Yes, I'll be rooting you on. I'll have my chest painted. It'll be a whole thing. But yeah, let's get into some Ravens talk. Raider Carlos, not worried about Abram. He'll probably be sliding into a lamppost somewhere like he did last year, shatters collarbone and not make it to the season. So I don't think Lamar's going to have to worry about Abram because this guy does not know how to tone it back and he gets hurt consistently. So I don't see that changing. But yes, today is a big day, Jimbo, in really across the league, but certainly here in Baltimore, June 1st has come. Now, all these deals that have been waiting for this deadline in order to increase their cap savings can now be completed. So I'm sure negotiations are hot and heavy across the league. And so, of course, we have to talk first and foremost about Julio Jones. And my perspective has changed a little bit, okay? I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot lately because there hasn't been a whole lot of news coming out, so I've been dwelling a lot on the Julio Jones thing. And we've both been saying for the longest that we'd be happy with him on the field. But I've also said I don't want him to overpay and how it's going to be tough with the camp or with the money. I still don't know how they're going to be able to juggle the cap and fit him in there because it's awfully tight. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. They're going to be right up against it. So I don't really know how because I looked at some chart that showed there's really no other extensions that they could do to get more money. There's really not much they could do to increase their cap space. It is what it is, what they got. So I'm not sure financially how possible it really is. I think it's possible, but probably not that likely. But I think if there's any chance whatsoever, any possibility that they can maneuver this in the cap, you go and you get Julio Jones. And you do this because I just have visions of the only way teams have seemingly been able to slow down the rush attack is by overloading the box and just putting too many guys in the box where you can't block them all.
Right.
I just can't imagine them being able to do that if you have Julio Jones on one side and then a combination of Bateman, Watkins, Hollywood in the slot. I don't know how you could do that with those guys on the outside. I just don't see how it's possible. And when you think about the Super Bowl window that we all talk about on here, and we talked about it a lot, Jimmy, that window of having that guy on the rookie deal and taking advantage of a low salary quarterback and be able to build a strong roster around him and going for the Super Bowl. I feel like that window might be closing in Baltimore. I think either way, Lamar is going to get a big chunk of money. So right now, these next 2 years is the easiest time to surround him with expensive talent. And Julio Jones is certainly that. I just think you do anything you can to get Julio Jones and you make a run at this Super Bowl because man, it seems like all the teams that go to the Super Bowl have an abundance of talent. They don't have enough. They have almost too much talent. That way, in case the inevitable injuries occur or down periods occur, you have so much talent that you can lean on other guys if one guy isn't performing or one guy goes down. Let's look at the Bucs. I mean, even though they were relatively healthy, actually incredibly healthy, they had so many weapons. They could have afforded to lose a number one receiver because they had another one to throw out there. They could have lost a couple. And they had so many to throw out there. So I just think if you have the ability to add them, even if it makes things tough, you go out there and you add a guaranteed bona fide Hall of Fame receiver to this offense and see what happens.
Yeah, Glenn, I realized you had the long weekend. You had some time to go out there and catch some fish and reflect on how brilliant I am. So I totally get it, and I appreciate you coming around to my side. Go all in on number 11, Julio Jones.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you 1,000% because at the end of the day, the balance that Eric has to draw is between having one eye in the future and one eye in the present. Right. Yep. And I think he's mastered. And I think it's fair to say he's top 3 at having one eye in the future in that our team is like our floor as a team every year is high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we also need to have that ceiling, right? Like how good can we be? And obviously we have the most dynamic player in the NFL, end of story.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, now is the time.
Yep.
Right. And so if teams like the Seahawks, if teams like who else is out there in the Julio Jones? The Titans,
the Niners,
right? If these teams with high paid quarterbacks, all of them have much higher paid quarterbacks than us, have the ability to go out there and get it done. There's got to be something that Eric can do. Now, even if it means sacrificing a guy, I mean, at the end of the day, I'd like to know who it would be, but I think you got to put in office an honest effort to get this deal done. I think it's a rare opportunity. Man, he would look awesome in purple and black. Oh my goodness. Jeez, he would look like a transformer. You know what I mean? Just so big out there in comparison to everyone else. Just not even real, right? Oh my gosh.
And if they can keep that guy on the field, it could be such trouble for teams.
Yeah, and the other thing, can I just say something really quick? I realize we're getting trolled pretty hard here, but Raider Carlos, you gotta slow your roll, my man. I realize it's way early. You're in the Ravens chat, but Lamar can't throw. Go ask John Gruden if he would rather have your quarterback or Lamar Jackson. Lamar can't throw. He led the league in passing touchdowns in 2019 in the pocket.
That's nonsense.
I mean, come on, man.
The Raiders have had one. Jimmy, in the last 20 years, they've had one winning season. One season in which they were above 500 in 20 years. So you're right. It's a troll. And I mean, what else can you say? I mean, it's nonsense. I mean, one winning season in 20 years is absolutely pathetic. They are barely above Browns level. And really the Browns are now past them. So, they better flip this script around because the Browns are going to go zooming by them and they will take the title as the most inept franchise in the league.
Can I just read these stat lines just real quick, just for our own sanity here, and for this, once again, for the sake of sanity. Lamar Jackson's stats since 2019, which was the first year that he started full time: 777 passing attempts, 502 passes completed, 65.2% completion percentage, 5,884 passing yards, 62 passing touchdowns, 15 interceptions, 106.3 passer rating, 335 rush attempts, 2,211 rushing yards, 14 rushing touchdowns, 8,095 total yards, and 76 total touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Eat it.
Yeah, not even close.
It's not close. What else can you say?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, really, back to Julio. What do you have your percentages changed? I mean, I still think it's kind of a long shot for the Ravens, but I will say
the reality of it happening.
Yeah, I still think it's a long shot as far as the Ravens actually getting it done because of the fact that I think a team will probably outbid us. But have your chances increased at all that they might be able to pull this off?
I think the longer that he sits, the longer that he's on the market, the more, or that he's on the trade block. Excuse me. The higher the probability becomes of the Ravens being the team to make the deal. That's how I see it. And so, yeah, I think every day that you don't get the alert, to me, the Ravens' chances increase. So I think right now I might give us a better probability than some other people. I think we have a 1/3 chance.
Wow. Okay.
Of getting
so they're in the top 3. Okay.
In my eyes.
Yeah.
While like you said, there's a lot of complexity to getting him in the cap. We have a deep wide receiver room. I still think that based on the fact that they've had relations with the Falcons, in working the Hayden Hurst deal. Now, I wonder if that will the Falcons feel like burned because they gave up a second and they're like, yeah, I'm not getting fleeced by Eric DaCosta again.
It could be. I mean, if there was a lot of ridicule in the public that they gave up that much to get him, and then especially when the guy is not even going to sign an extension, so you gave up a 2nd-round pick for what? A 2-year rental?
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit interesting. So yeah, I could see there be a little bit of you know what, we're done dealing with the Ravens for right now. We'll send him. But also it does give them the opportunity to get him far away from Atlanta. I mean, if you're going to the Niners, it's not.
Right. You're still in the NFC.
Yeah, I mean, I think he definitely wants to go to the AFC. It's just a matter of, do the Patriots pull the trigger? Who knows? I mean, it is the Titans. We could see a number.
And do you
of
think
things.
that they still have the type of relationship to where they're working with Julio's team to get a deal done, in that he's probably the best player the franchise has had? Maybe Michael Vick in his prime.
No, it's Julio.
So it's Julio Jones. So do you think that they pay him that respect and they work with him to say, hey, go have your representation, see what he can get? And I wonder if if that's happening, that increases the likelihood that he comes to Baltimore.
Yeah.
Because if he said he wants to go to a winner, he just wants to win. I don't think that he trusts Ryan Tannehill or name another. I don't think there's too many quarterbacks you trust more than Lamar Jackson. No, I don't. I'm high on Cam still, but he's not Lamar.
No.
So certainly, I as far as ASC teams go, I don't see there being a team that he trusts more to be competitive, to be in the race, to give him a chance to win.
Yeah. No.
Other than the Chiefs, you know what I mean? But that's probably not happening, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I wouldn't put anything past him, but yeah, I think you're right. I think they're going to do right by him. They're not going to do him wrong. They're going to make sure they take care of him because he's done a lot for the city. Cam Wee says, I hope Raider Joe goes to the game so he can cry in the car after the game. Jones trade for a 3rd and 5th plus Miles and a defensive player. I think he's right in the sense that it's going to have to take a player to, if nothing else, I should say, clear out some cap space. It might be to the point where they need to have a player in that deal in order to have enough space to fit Julio under it and still have some wiggle room for potential injuries and midseason additions. So I think that you're right in the sense that there has to be a player, unless they cut it. I mean, I don't know how. I would like to see if they'd be willing to negotiate them picking up more, some of the salary. I just don't know what all you can negotiate into a deal. If you can,
right.
If he's just taking care of the bonus, or you can negotiate some of his base salary into the deal, them picking up, half of the first year or whatever it needs to be. But yeah, I think another player has to be involved. And yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a long day for the Vegas Raiders. It's going to be a long day for Derek Carr. And I can't wait to see Gruden's face on the sideline, because he makes the best faces when he's pissed off about something going on. And I think it's going to be a long one for him.
Yeah, DK, I want to get your take here on so where do you see us ranking? Like, what are your top 3 teams if you could list them?
Yeah, I put us at 20%. So
okay.
Right around number 5, something like that, 4 or 5. But man,
do you agree
hopeful,
with me though, Glenn? Do you agree with me that like the longer that he sits out there and a deal's not done, the higher the likelihood becomes of the Ravens being more likely to get a deal done? Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I see what you're saying. I don't know. I almost think the other way. I think if they, because the Ravens don't win bidding wars, and I think that if he stays out there, then you create a bidding war, and then the Ravens typically lose. Usually when they get a deal done, it's quick. At least that's what if my memory, serves me correctly. I think it would be quicker, and to avoid the bidding type wars that you.
So in my mind, it's weird because the way I see it is that like, if he, it's just like when your house goes on the market, there's but if it lasts over that 30-day threshold or whatever, it starts to cool off just a bit. And right when it cools, that's right where the Ravens will, they'll right. Exactly. So it's going to, let's see, I put us at top 5. The longer he's on the better our chances. Yeah. So I can see what you're saying too, because the Ravens will not enter into bidding war, but I don't think that this will end up being a bidding war for Julio. I think there's only a few teams that are actually honest, in their intent to acquire Julio Jones.
Okay.
And so certainly I think once he starts to get stale, if you will, then the Ravens are able to pounce and get that value there. Come on, Eric. Come on, Mr. EDC, as what Lamar called him, Mr. EDC.
Yeah. No, I mean, I hope you're right. But now another guy, I want to transition to another guy that's kind of been put on the back burner, but I think after June 1 is the same situation, that the team can get more cap savings by waiting until today to trade him. And that's Zach Ertz. I think it's a crowded room in the tight end room in Baltimore, especially when I hear reports of Eli Wolf looking the way he has in the first couple of days of camp. And of course they bringing over Oliver from the Jags and then Boyle and Andrews being there and also Tomlinson. I still think Zach Ertz would fit right in, and I would love to see him added. I think that element he brings to the passing game, while we're hopeful we could get that from guys like Wolf and guys like Oliver, neither one have done it. Neither one have done it, and neither one I know Oliver's battled a ton of injuries since coming to the league, and Wolf as well, although much more brief period of time, but still both of them have injury concerns, and neither one has proven. Ertz would look darn good in purple, and I think you could get Ertz for much less than you have to give up for Julio. I think like a 4th or 5th at most, and be able to get that contract, that cap relief that the Eagles are looking for, and take on some of that salary, and also a lot less hit on your salary cap every season that he's here, going forward. So, what are your thoughts on Ertz coming to town, and do you think it's maybe not it's sexier move than bringing Julio, but do you think it could end up being the better move because of
a more impactful, long-term,
and also less investment in them, less capital,
so higher value
to get them? Exactly.
Yeah. I can totally see that. Before I answer you though, I want to get to this real quick. Gruden puts down the clipboard and picks up a beer in the end zone by halftime. I mean, I can totally see it. Could you put it? Remember, he used to be on the Corona commercials.
Oh yeah,
they could just bring the desk.
Yep.
They could bring the desk back out and the yellow phone, and Gruden could just sit there, just pick. I just don't know what to do. It's Lamar Jackson. He's tough. He's tough. Yep. I don't know what to do. So certainly, I could see that happening, Bill Seals, for sure. But getting back to your Ertz thing, this was something that we talked about. I want to say 2-3 months ago, maybe more.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Yeah,
pre-draft, everything else. So. Yeah, I think you and I both identified this as an opportunity for Ravens to get value where, you're talking about depth in the tight end room. And we're also talking about Julio, where there's at this point seemingly much more depth in the wide receiver room. So if you can justify bringing a guy like Julio, I think you can certainly justify bringing in a guy like Ertz. And while there is some depth, having him and Andrews and Boyle run out there on the field is that's above formidable. I mean, that's an incredible unit. That might be better than the three-headed monster was before. Hayden might be better blocker than Ertz was, but he's certainly not a more accomplished receiver. So that would be a lot of fun to see. I would be just as happy, and this might sound crazy, I would be just as happy if the Ravens pull off a trade for Zach Ertz as I would be for Julio Jones. I know that might sound crazy when you think about it, but based on the value for the deal, the way that Ertz can take pressure off the other guys in that he's been a number one receiver at the tight end position pretty much his whole career. Like he's been over 1,000 yards. He's led his team in receptions, all this. So he takes so much pressure off of Andrews, off of Hollywood, all these other guys. And he applies so much pressure to the defense. So certainly I would be just as content with that. I mean, obviously Julio Jones is what he is. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but for this offense where we are now, when we're talking about value and things like that, yeah, I would be just as happy with this deal, man.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you. I think the cheaper, the Ravens don't like giving up capital, draft capital especially. So I think that it could make a lot of sense bringing him in. And I think you might get more value out of a tight end than you do a receiver. I don't know. It's tough because it's Julio Jones. I mean, this isn't just a normal receiver. This is, the gift to receiving. This guy is incredible. So, but the question is, does that? I think Billy Seals, I think it was earlier, said that if you bring in Ertz, it allows you to also add pass rush to the room because you still have extra cap space. You bring in Julio, that means there's likely no Justin. I think it was Adit Mahmoud maybe who brought him up. I want to give credit where it's due, but I think that if you bring in Ertz, you can still add a Justin Houston. You can still add a Ingram if that's who you end up going with. If you bring in Julio, you can't do anything else. I mean, you're right up against it, and if you have a rash of injuries, man, it's going to be slim pickings on who you can pay to come in and replace. So. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd be excited for both. King of Pugo says that Julio gets us over the hump and Ertz doesn't move the needle. I'm not really sure. I do agree in the sense that I think Julio would be more impactful as far as just the amount of work the defense would have to do to prepare with Julio out there it just seems like it would be intense. I mean, you can't just go and load the box. You can't crowd the middle of the field because now you got to do the outside with Julio. Yeah. Inside in between the hashes with Hollywood and Mark Andrews. And then if Watkins can stay healthy, a burner on the outside over there. And then if Bateman turns into the guy we're hoping for, you can move him anywhere along the field, and he's going to be impactful.
JK's got hands out of the backfield. Even Gus has improved as far as catching out of the backfield. So all those weapons are there. I mean, my gosh.
It would be a lot, but it really comes down to, do they see enough value in bringing in Julio, investing all that cap space in him going forward? They're obviously going to have to make some cuts here and there to make it happen. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, because one thing that's really important, astutely enough, and that's why he's Daniel the Legend. Because astutely enough, a lot of people have mentioned that Julio's cap hit, while year on a per annum basis, not crazy high for productivity, but he still is number one in guaranteed dollars in the next 3 years. So, like you said, Glenn, I mean, that's still something to consider because he'll be 32. 33, 34. He's got a nagging ankle. He's got the hammy that's been flaring up and things like that. So certainly, I mean, I think we can keep him healthy. I'm okay with it, but the Ravens have to be okay with it. I mean, I'm not the GM at the end of the day. If they were, we'd have like 5 Super Bowls. So, see that you must agree with me, Glenn.
Why is that?
Because I said if I was the GM, we would have 5 Super Bowls, and you didn't laugh. That means you must agree with me.
That's because I was putting Raider Carlos in timeout. I was putting him in timeout. Nana suggested I do it, and so I put him in a 5-minute timeout. It's the first person we've ever put in timeout. So he was just going. He was just trolling. I mean, it was all nonsense about quarterback, running back, and this guy's that, and this guy nonsense. So. Yeah, Nana Rave, J-Dub, put him. I put him a timeout. I mean, he lost.
Look, Glenn, you can run for president as long as you make me your assistant president.
Assistant president?
Your vice president. Jeez,
assistant president? That's it. He's not American. Get him out of here. Assistant president. Jeez.
I was gonna say assistant to the president, like Dwight Schrute, and then I got stuck in
got you.
this.
Yeah. We had to get him out of here. That was, I mean, if you're making some, we've had plenty of Browns fans in here making some legitimate claims, but man, talking nonsense. So we had to get him out of here. Yeah, we had to get him out. But hey, he could be back in 5 minutes. He could be back,
and he's gonna be flaming. The other thing I want to talk about real quick too is a couple of you guys have already snatched them up. I just want to show off the swag one more time because we got some new colors, ladies and gentlemen. So we got the store up. You guys can we'll have it in the chat here, so you guys can go and get your 410 Sports Talk swag. Can you hover over that one? It doesn't matter whichever one of the shirts. So if you'll notice on the back, you guys put it in the chat all the time, so we wanted to make it part of the shirt. Love talking Ravens talk. Our guy Lamar Jackson was, of course, coined the phrase when referring to the show, and Glenn and I and all you guys really. So go out there, grab the t-shirt. The link will be in the chat. DK just dropped it in. So hopefully you enjoy it. We have fun making it. We'll have more of these coming out as well. Keep giving us suggestions on some of the sayings that you guys like. We'll certainly have a McBanger edition somewhere.
Oh, yeah, we got to have a McBanger.
Yeah, along with some others, certainly.
Can we get a graphic, you think, with
we're going to do a McBanger. Yeah, with 410 Sports Talk in between the buns? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We got to do something.
Absolutely. Don't you worry. But, yeah, make sure you guys check it out. And, you know, we're not professional T-shirt makers. But
no. All feedback is welcome.
Absolutely. But we hope you like it.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
And you're right, Adam. We're certainly getting to a hat and a beanie and stuff like that as well. Those other options are on the table and things we'll be working on soon. But go grab it. The link was just dropped in the chat, and DK will be sure to do it periodically, I'm sure, throughout the show. But anyway.
Yeah, I want to give a little bit of news here. Just roster news. I'm sure it's not going to move the needle for pretty much anyone out here.
Just skip the beat.
No, I wish.
My chest.
Yeah, I wish there was something crazy breaking. That'd be cool to break it live. But no, the Ravens did announce a couple roster moves. They had a defensive tackle. Xavier Kelly. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Xavier Kelly tore his Achilles, so he ended up being. He got waived due to the injury, and they also waived the former wide receiver teammate with Lamar Jackson, Dante Silencio, I think it is how you pronounce it. Which a lot of people were pointing to him as maybe bringing back some of that chemistry that they had. No, it's such a deep room. And plus such a deep room. In order to make this roster at the receiver position. I mean, you're going to have some talent now. This isn't like it was a couple years ago, even 3 years ago when it was a bunch of nobodies in there. They got some serious talent in that room, bunch of first round and higher picks now. When you look up and down that line, you got a first round pick in Watkins, right? Was he not a first round pick?
Yep, number 4 overall.
You got Hollywood is number 1 overall pick. You got Rashad Bateman now, who's a first overall pick. So you're starting to see a lot of talent, and really. It was an uphill climb from the beginning. I'm sure he's disappointed it happened so quickly, but nonetheless, they did so. And to replace the loss that they had in the defensive tackle, Xavier Kelly, they brought in Javon Swan, who's another defensive tackle, to bring in some big bodies because they don't have a ton of slobber knockers, as we like to call them, right now, with a bunch of guys missing due to injury and a bunch of vets just choosing to miss out on some of the voluntary stuff. So they need to bring some more beef into the team. So they brought in Javon Swan, but they also, I think, worked out Darius Kilgo, who's a former Maryland Terp. So hopefully we'll see some familiar faces on the Ravens. But yeah, just wanted to point out the roster moves as of late. Yeah,
that's I think they probably did it as a favor to him in letting him go early. I mean, I hope, right? Like, why hold on to him if the chances are.
That's a good point.
Kid, even if you come out here and you play like a Hall of Famer based on our contract, contractually, we can't, we're committed to these guys. And so go out there and get it somewhere else. It's hopefully what was provided to him and hopefully you saw it that way. David Nance, I want a Snacks Ferguson shirt. I like it.
Oh, I like the Tylenol Wallace shirt.
Yes, dude, we'll have to get a. Remember my shirt that I used to wear on the show a long time ago with my old company that had
the big pill
had the pill on it. Jeez,
Wiz. Yeah, we got to get a Tylenol Wallace.
Tired after that.
We got to get a capsule. It just says Tylenol Wallace across it. That would be kind of slick. What's going on, Lindsay? Appreciate you coming out. But yeah, I mean, we're right on the, what is it? DK, see if you could look up when the mandatory came. I think it's the 8th for everyone, right? I know it's the 8th for Green Bay because I heard them talking about it when they were referencing when Aaron Rodgers is first actually required to be in the building. So that's going to be the big time because we're going to finally see all the guys that skipped out on the voluntary stuff. We're going to start to see, these veterans getting mixed with the young guys and see how that all meshes together. Nana Ray says she needs some Ravens purple. So we got to get a purple shirt out there, Jimbo.
Oh, and it does come in purple as well. You can change the color. Nice. So it does come in purple. Yeah, I made sure that was an option. And if it isn't, DM me on Twitter if you're having a hard time finding it, and I can send it to you. But yeah, purple's an option. It shows up in black and white because that's the default colors that I set up. But certainly purple.
Yep.
Purple's an option.
But yeah, so are you excited that pretty soon we're going to see all 90 on the field, and at least in theory? I guess there's a couple rehabs that'll still be maybe keeping a couple guys out, but in theory should be close to 100% coming up here in the next week.
Can't wait.
You getting anxious?
Oh, I'm getting anxious. I'm getting so anxious I can't stop picking my freaking finger over here, man. I'm like dying for it to happen. I'm just getting anxiety trying to get these, waiting to get these guys on the field. I can't wait. Football season is just a special time of year, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's coming up to, obviously the summer's great, but I'm excited for the season and even the offseason stuff. We'll have some more stuff to talk about. But I want to dig into, unless you have some other news or anything you want to get into, Glenn, I want to dig into this. Are there any players you see as, now that we're getting into camp, as potential surprises, coming into camp that might not be on your radar or on, the general news radar? A lot of people have talked about Justin Madubuike, and I know we've kind of touched on this. But the reason I bring this up, this, as weird as this is going to sound, I think that Gus Edwards is going to be a surprise. Gus Edwards has been good every single year. What's up?
Jimbo, you sound crazy all of a sudden.
Oh,
is it just me? Or?
I don't know.
Oh, does he sound crazy to you, DK? No? He sounds good? I guess it's on my end. Now you're muted, Jimbo.
Can you hear me, Glenn?
You can't hear him?
You can't hear me?
I guess it's me. Yeah, DK says we're good, but I'm having trouble hearing Jimmy. I'm not sure what's going on.
No idea. Sounds good.
Okay, all right. It's just me. Go ahead.
It's you, bro.
Let me see. I'm going to fix my...
No, I'll let you fix that. No, I was going to say that I think that as funny as it sounds, Mr. Consistency and Gus Edwards is going to take an incredible leap in his overall ability to play the position and his blocking, and then also his threat in the passing game. And I think he's going to be a better runner, but I know this sounds goofy and I'm always on Gus, but I'll ride with Gus till the wheels fall off. I think he's going to be a surprise player in that we're going to get much more than we expect. We expect 700 plus yards, 5 yards a carry, which is no walk in the park. But I think he's going to be so much more than that this year. I think he sees himself as I think he knows that he can be a true number one.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark's not here anymore. It's him and JK. And anyway, I bring that up because I keep thinking about Gus in that I think he's going to be even better than what people are expecting him to be.
Yeah. I mean, nothing Gus can do now will shock me because every year I've seen the growth. I've seen the progression, both physically as well as his game. And yeah, so nothing he's going to do is really going to shock me at this point. Because I think that one point or another, we're going to have to lean on both of these guys to carry the load. I think there's going to be a situation where we'll probably see, one of the guys dinged up a little bit, and they're going to have to lean on one more than the other for a period of time. And I think either one could handle the load and be just fine. So I'm not really, neither one would shock me. Now, this was what would shock me. If Justice Hill does absolutely anything on the offensive side of the ball, that is what would shock me. Now, the Ravens have used 3 running backs every year. I mean, obviously the third running back got a lot less carries, and opportunities than the first 2, but nonetheless, he's still got some opportunity. That's what would shock me, is if Justice Hill says, you know what, I'm tired of hearing the slander that Glenn is spewing about me, because I've spewed it. I mean, I saw a guy not get to 4 yards of carry on the greatest rushing team ever. It blew my mind. I mean, you got to get to 4 on the team that does it better than everyone, and everyone else is doing 5. So you got to at least get to 4, and he couldn't get over 3.9. So, okay, so the mandatory mini camp for the Ravens is June 15th to the 17th. That's where we're going to be seeing this. Now, if Justice Hill comes out on June 15th through the 17th and he's showing, that he's hitting the hole, he's showing that burst, showing the quick decision making, not dancing too much, not doing it, breaking some tackles, because I've seen a lot of arm tackling bringing him down. Now, we're not going to be able to see a lot of that in camp, but we're going to certainly be able to see that as the preseason continues, throughout this preparation for this season. So he would really shock the hell out of me. But one guy I think is maybe a dark horse, and it's a
Can
long
I guess
shot.
it? Can I guess it?
You're not going to, but go ahead.
Is he a corner?
Nope.
Offensive player?
Offensive.
You're going to say Miles Boykin?
Hell no. Hell no.
Eli Wolf?
No, although you're getting hotter.
Jake.
No, Breland. No, I'm going to go with Oliver. Because look, there's the reason that the Ravens went after this guy. There's a reason they picked up the phone, they gave him a call, and they gave him that trade up. They obviously saw something in him, whether what they saw was for a couple years ago when they were in the draft process when he first came out, or whatever the case may be. They saw something in this guy. So I seen him out there in the clips, highlights. He's out there. He's healthy. He's running around. Let's just see, because I remember his ball skills were what intrigued most teams about him. He's the ability to go up and get the ball, his ability to make catches in traffic, and that's what we've been looking for. Another guy that can continue to take pressure off of Andrews in the red zone, and I think this guy could do that if he can stay on the field. So
yeah,
obviously if Zach Ertz is brought in the room, that blows it up. But I think Josh Oliver could absolutely become that passing threat that we've been looking for. Now, it's all about the health for him, because I think he's got the raw athletic talent, and I think he's going to have the coaching now that he's here in Baltimore with these young additions to the coaching staff. So that would be my guy offensively. Watch out for Josh Oliver. And as they're saying in the chat, they had to clear space for Tim Tebow. So they had to clear some tight end room for the Cannons, because look, there wasn't a whole lot of room left in the building after them guns showed up from Tim Tebow, because your boy was stacked on the outside.
Yeah.
I mean,
you
saw him, Jimmy. He didn't miss any gym days.
No, certainly not. Tim is a clean living guy as far as we know. As Mike Tyson says about Floyd Mayweather, his heroin is the gym. Right. And I'm certain that is the case with Tim Tebow, in that he doesn't miss lifting very often. But look, we're not going to delve into this because we've got complaints about talking about Tim Tebow too much.
That's right.
Well, we got to say it. We got to bring it up. There's new tape now.
Yeah.
There's him running some routes.
Yeah.
Catching some passes.
Tucking it away.
Yeah, there's some shots with the veins popping out. Now, whether or not he did anything questionable or it was all legitimate outside of football, look, you're in a baseball locker room. Who knows what comes by your locker room when you're playing? You just don't know.
Got the vitamins today,
That's
boys.
Right. I mean, them minor league baseball locker rooms, it's like the longest yard with the cops. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
My gosh. Like, that was really why Timmy was out there for a couple of years. He's like, look, let me just lay low.
Yeah.
Do my thing over here, and then I'll come back. Goo-goo. No, but in all honesty, it's
he came in, he goes, I pick things up and put them down.
That's right.
Gigantic.
It's going to be interesting, but let me tell you what, as big as he wants to be, I don't think that any defensive player is going to tremble or going to let themselves be blocked by Tim Tebow. Look,
sometimes you can't help it.
Sports, you're right. There's contact sports, and football is super physical. And then there are the trenches where stuff gets real, right? Like,
okay. I just look, if Dennis Pitta can hold his own in the trenches.
Oh, he couldn't.
Yeah, but he at least he got in the way. He got in the way. He got in the way a little bit.
He would slip that joint and catch the ball so fast. Freaking Tim. No. Dennis Pitta knew what he could do, and it was not.
I'm not saying he was in there moving bodies, but he would get in the way, okay? But anyway, on defense, Do you got anyone? I know I see a lot of Chauncey Rivers who look, I watched him on Last Chance U. I watched every episode that season. I'm sure he's grown a lot. The physical abilities were there. I mean, I think he had it. I'm not sure if he quite had the athleticism to be a 3-4 outside linebacker enough to where he could be an impact player. I think he had some ability to maybe be a situational player, a situational pass rusher. But still, nonetheless, I would be surprised if he made the actual roster and isn't somehow, squeezed through to the practice squad, because I don't know. I have to see a lot from him. But is there anybody on defense, Jimbo, that you get excited for that's off the radar?
Yep. Yes, sir. And, he has a special place in my heart. He's starting to become, if he makes the team, one of those Ravens that I'm thinking I'm really going to like. And, Glenn, you'll probably know why. And, that is our Darius Washington. I think that this kid is going to come out and make some splash plays in preseason, in camp, in preseason. I think that while he's slight in size, I think that when you're talking preseason games and he's going up against these other undrafted free agents, these third and fourth and even first, second string guys, but guys that are trying to make the roster, I think he's going to be able to stand out. I think he has in comparison to the rookies, whatever drafted or not, I think he has some of the best ball skills, regardless of round. I think this kid's just a really good football player that's small.
Yeah.
And so I think he's going to make some eye-popping plays. I think he's got incredible instincts, and I can't wait for him to go out there and make some plays. So yeah, he's starting to endear me. Starting to gain favor with me.
Okay.
And certainly I'm excited about this kid. And I think he's not only going to make the team, I think he'll have some impactful plays both on special teams and potentially on defense this year.
Well, I mean, there's not a lot of depth behind those two starters, Elliott and Clark. So yeah, I think they could end up leaning on him if he makes the team. I think it's just shocking to me that nobody took a flyer on a 7th rounder for him or 6th rounder. I mean, how did a guy who's so highly talked about, other than his measurables, his height and weight, that's the only negative I've heard, and that's really surprising. Now, I have heard that he's not, always the best tackler, but that's the criticism we hear about a ton of guys in the late rounds, and that I'm just surprised that he slipped, and that's what makes me worried. That obviously there must be some glaring weakness in his game for him to be passed over by all 32 teams for an entire draft. But yeah, it's going to be interesting if instincts are, the strength of his game. I mean, in theory, that's the stuff you can't teach. That you can. Yeah,
it usually translates, right?
Exactly. And ball skills. I mean, that's another thing you usually can't teach is those two things. So while you also can't teach height, that's going to hurt him. But let's just see what
Miles
happens.
Boykin, how far that's gotten him, right?
Right. Exactly. Well, imagine if he was a 6'4" safety. I mean, then you're talking about he still wouldn't be able to high point the ball. Never mind. I don't know why I went down that road with Miles Boykin. But yeah, so and Raven Ron brings up a guy who I think is interesting in Dalen Hayes because, I know he's a draft pick, but it's like not a lot of people are giving him a lot of love because of the fact that he's more of a do-it-all instead of a specialty guy who's really good at one thing. He's kind of just so okay at everything. But, man, I love his attitude. I love the energy he's bringing. And I think he could end up being one of those situational players. Not a guy who's going to get a ton of clock, but in certain spot moments, I think he could come out there and make plays. But, yeah, I mean, I kind of wait and see. I got to see somebody in camp kind of start catching my eye. Boykin did that for me the first year. He was catching my eye. And then disappointed me with the rest of his play. But I'm really hopeful that your boy from Utah, Tyler Huntley, can really show out, because I think it's up to him to bring along the rest of those young guys on offense. Because if he can't replicate somewhat of a pocket passer and do some of the things that Lamar can do as a passer, it's going to be hard to develop those outside guys. So I'm just hopeful that we get some good quarterback play behind Lamar to continue to develop those young guys that aren't getting first team reps with Lamar under center.
Well, yeah, if that's your concern, don't be concerned.
Because you have utmost confidence?
No, Tyler's he's a player, like objectively as I possibly can speak about his game. The dude can play. Like he can really play. And so I'm excited. Poor Boykin. Nana, there just comes a point where you can only take pity on someone for so long.
Yeah. I mean, look, you guys doing just fine. He'll have a long career in the league because someone's gonna even if he leaves Baltimore, they're gonna fall in love with that height, weight, and speed. Yeah. And they're gonna bring him in, and he'll stick around, and he'll be just fine. But Boykin can block.
He has a role.
My goodness. He can block. Yes, he can block. He's great at blocking. If that was the number one job, then he'd be in good shape. But he's not an offensive tackle.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I want to ask you this as well. We kind of talked about this a little bit last week, but what have you thought so far? I'm sure you watched the Ravens wired edition of camp of what they've had so far in like mini camp for the rookies. What have you thought so far about the new coaches?
Oh, I love the detail they're bringing to the role. I mean, I love the fact that they seem to really like gel well with the players. Because I think a lot of that is, sometimes you bring a bunch of old dudes around. How do you talk? How does an old
Rob?
Yeah, except Rob because he's so damn fun. I mean, that guy is just hilarious. But you bring a bunch of old. It's hard to close that generational gap. So I think that the fact that these guys have been around young guys in the college ranks so much that it's easier for them to close that rank. I mean, you talk about T. Martin, who's been around nothing but young guys for the past few years. He's raising a son who's now in the league. So I think that it's just easier for them to relate, and that helps get that trust between the coaches and the young players. So I think that's a big start. And then the details they're bringing to it, the fact that they're bringing a different level of expertise to this room, I think it's exciting. And they're treating them the way, if you have an older coach, they have the old school way of thinking. You're a player, you listen to what I say. Nowadays we baby them a little more than we used to, right? Especially, great athletes in college, they get babied a little bit. They get told how great they are, especially if they're one of the better players in the program. So you can't be too hard on them when they come out, or they might sour on what you're teaching them. So I like the fact that they have that understanding on how to bring these guys along. Because look, something wasn't working in Baltimore. I'm trying to figure out what it was that wasn't able to develop talent, but I don't know. Maybe it was the fact that they didn't have a connection. I'm not really sure what it was, but hopefully these guys, having that ability to communicate and connect with these guys and then teach them up, I think maybe makes the difference, but who knows? I'm just hopeful that we can finally develop some young receiving talent in Baltimore.
Yeah, certainly. I agree with you there. And DK, I didn't give you a shot to get your name in there. If you have a surprise, guy that's under the radar that you're looking forward to, or you're expecting to make make a jump, surprise some people at camp, capture some attention, give us your name, because your insight, certainly the fans, the viewers love it.
And also, if you haven't checked out DK's article on the Patreon, awesome article. Shout out to DK. I thought he did an excellent job. Yeah. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out. It was awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I'll share it here in a second as well. I'll put it in the chat. But yeah, if you're looking for in-depth Ravens stuff,
yeah, I'm curious. In the chat, this is just my curiosity. Is there any big-time tailgaters out there? Is there anyone who puts together and has like a big area that they all like to congregate at? I'm not really sure. It's been a while since I've been down at it's been since 2019 since I've been down to the stadium, but I haven't done a lot of big group tailgating, so we're going to try and get into that. So let us know, what's the tailgating spots are in and around the stadium, and I'm curious to know, because we want to make some noise here. 410 Sports Talk is coming to the stadium, and yeah, we're there for the opener, but that's not the only game. I have a feeling we're going to be there a lot more often. But that one's, the first one and the most important one, because we're going to take down them daggone dirty Chiefs and let them know who the big boys in the AFC are this year.
The dirty Chiefs.
I don't know.
That's all. Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with Glenn 100%. Like, let us know where you're at, what your plans are. I know that we're also hopefully going to be doing some tagging along with our boy Tony. We haven't even asked him. We're just assuming that he's going to allow us to tag along. But certainly we know that he's got a whole section that they got a club and they tailgate in as well. But yeah, okay, interesting.
The guy you hated on, Jimbo.
Yeah, Mr. I've looked the same since 10th grade.
Oh my goodness! Look, that guy was showing out down the stretch.
He was. Jimbo. He proved me wrong, man. I mean, my goodness, so certainly that, but do we know what's going on with his situation, with his offseason issues? Is it resolved? Will there be a suspension?
That's a
Do we
good
know?
question. Yeah, that's a really good question, because I know there was some off the field issues, some law issues, right? I don't really remember exactly what the problem was, but I know
destruction of property. I think he was like, I think he was inebriated. I think he broke some stuff at an apartment. He like broke some stuff at an apartment complex, and I think a car or a couple cars. And anyway, yeah, it wasn't his best hour, that's for sure. But I was actually surprised that he wasn't cut,
because right away you just thought they would just Well, obviously they know a lot more about the situation, and sometimes when you just see the headline, it can be misleading, and maybe with the details he's provided, they felt strong enough about him to keep him on. Maybe, who knows what the situation. But he did play 15% of the defensive snaps, played in 8 games, played just 161 total plays. Didn't contribute on special teams. I'm interested, how much defensive tackles really would in general there. So I think he's kind of in a tough spot there, but only 15% of the plays. That number's got to go up. I mean, even, unless there's some issues with the off the field stuff, that number's got to go up. But I think that's a good point. And there's got to be a replacement for when Brandon Williams,
has to be.
If he gets hurt, he's had injury issues as, not a ton, but he's had games where he's had to miss, and COVID, I think, hit that whole front line there last year. Hopefully we don't have to worry about the COVID issues this year. I guess that's still a wait and see there, but yeah, I think he's going to have to impact the field. When we see these guys go down, it seems like it seems like when one goes down, there's always a couple that go down with him. So he's going to be relied upon at some point. Obviously, Justin Madubuike, who we're both extremely high on, we're really hoping that he brings that level of pass rush to the interior that we've been looking for. Somebody mentioned they think he's going to be the next Warren Sapp for us. Now, that's some big shoes to fill. But if he can have that Warren Sapp-like play, then he could definitely be valuable here.
Yeah, Justin Madubuike, and I'm still working on we give nicknames to a lot of these guys. I'm still working on nicknames, but to me, like, he is Mr. Fire Hydrant, because I've never seen a guy. I mean, he's built like a fire hydrant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's so, like, how do you move that guy? He's going forward, and you really can't, because he has such a rare. He's not Aaron Donald. Like, I don't want to put him in the Aaron Donald ilk, right? Like, that guy's arguably the best defensive player of all time. But in that he's unique in his size, strength, structure of his body, and his speed and explosion. Like, those things are unique package that certainly he has, that I only think a few players at that position have. Now, like I said, Aaron Donald stands alone, and he has that times, to the nth degree of what Justin Madubuike has. But I still think that there are shades of that same combination within his potential. And so he's going to be a fun one to watch this year, boy. Whoo! I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about, because they didn't have a whole offseason. So it's all about how much did they grow in that big first to second year, especially when they had no offseason last year. So, I mean, and you talk about the new coaches that are brought to. Anthony Weaver could make a big difference in these guys. I mean, there's a reason Anthony Weaver, climbed the coaching ranks the way he did, because he was getting through to guys. He was making an impact. So I'm hopeful that he makes that same impact here in Baltimore, because, man, like you said, Jimmy, you got to win in the trenches. You got to win there first, and then you move to the outside. So hopefully he does that as well.
Man, it's definitely going to be interesting. Let
me ask you something. I'm going to transition a little bit in the sense that I got to ask a quick question. The Pittsburgh Steelers are all over the news. Big Ben saying revolutionary. This offense is like nothing you've ever seen before under Matt Canada. Which, by the way, I remember Matt Canada. He was a Terp offensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty positive he was here. Now, I know that the talent level obviously needs to be there for you to have success. Didn't have a ton of success here in Maryland, but he's now in Pittsburgh. They got some weapons. Revolutionary, something you've never seen before. Is he blowing smoke, Jimbo, or should we start getting nervous?
No, he's blowing smoke. It was really funny. He also said today, I heard Ben say today, I think it was today, he said, in response to the downfield passing and the lack thereof. So, well, I had my, when it comes to the downfield passing, I have my elbow totally reconstructed, but no excuses. What?
Yeah, let me give you an excuse and then
tell you no excuses. Shut your mouth, Ben. Just shut up.
He's a lot. He does it. The complaint about injuries, it reminds me a little bit of LeBron. Because LeBron, did you see when he got poked a couple days ago? And then and then he hit that incredible shot against the Warriors after getting his eye poked. And he could have just left it at the greatness, but instead he goes, I saw 3 baskets and I aimed for the middle one. Stop spicing it up, man. He's spicing it up. And the same thing happens to Big Ben. He spices it up. He loves everyone knowing he's hurt. And he played through it and how tough he is. All I see is a big baby that whines about his injuries. Why do you got to let everyone know what happens to you? Oh, I was playing. My arm almost fell off my body, but I made it happen and no excuses.
No, I'm with you 100%. I'm here for all of it. Like, I've talked about this before. It was kind of weird for me because when I went on my mission, you have 2 years of really no technology. I didn't watch Ravens. I didn't follow social media. And that was the time, 2009, 2011, smartphones and social media like blew up. So like memes became like a thing. Mm-hmm. And one of my favorite memes shortly thereafter when I came home, because I was still reluctant to get in social media. Like you and I still, other than the show, we don't have personal social media because just not those type of people. Anyway, the point in me saying all of this is that one of the memes that I saw was Joe Flacco walking off the field with a torn ACL and MCL and Ben being carted off the field with like a bruised ankle or a twisted ankle. No ligament damage, just like a bruise. And he was carted off the field. Yep. And I'm like, come on, man. You got to be kidding me, right? Like, remember that he wore like 2 different shoes? Remember that? Wasn't that one year? And he like, hamming it up, because he had the ankle injury and
he had to get a bigger shoe.
Yeah,
I can't fit my shoe and I had to go to a size 15 cleat.
It's like, stop.
Anyone who listen, please, I'm hurt. Let me remind you of all my, and then they bring that picture up and it'll show like an outline of a silhouette of a body and they'll like an arrow pointing to his ankle with the injury, an arrow pointing to his wrist with another injury. And there's all these arrows pointing all over his body. And they're like, but he's still out here giving it. It's like everyone's hurt. It's the NFL. Everyone is hurt.
Yeah, you're not a martyr, dude.
No, I don't feel sorry for you.
You're getting paid millions of dollars.
Golly.
And he took credit for the pay cut. He said it was his idea.
Oh, stop.
He didn't even give the franchise any credit. How about the fact that they're paying you, bro?
You big goof. How about if you know what? Maybe you'd be a little healthier if you took a little more care into your body. Maybe if you went to Haskell the Rascal's workout plan and were running next to him on that Peloton or running around Patterson Park with Jimbo, maybe you're a big old, maybe if you didn't have a belly that looked like mine strapped to the front of you, which is not a compliment, then maybe you'd be a little healthier, okay? His statue, a big slug standing behind that offensive line. Jeez Louise.
Oh, God. It's the soft tissue stuff, man. It's so funny because Mom he's got a drinker's face. That's what she calls him. I'm like, oh, my gosh. I don't accuse people of those things, but it's kind of hard to deny sometimes. You look at Ben and it's like, woo.
They call it a beer belly for a reason. Said them calories, man. My goodness.
Oh my gosh. How about I think his first step should be just walking from drill to drill. No golf cart.
I think they should change his parking spot from up front all the way in the back of the damn parking lot. So at least his fat ass has to walk a little bit to get in the building. My goodness.
I'm going to transition here again, but this is a former Steeler. Le'Veon did nothing last year when we went to the Chiefs, right? I mean,
yeah,
essentially, anyone picks him up? Do you see him moving the needle for any team? Is there any way once you get back in the AFC North just to have some sort of a revenge tour?
I can't see anybody in the North taking him in. I mean, I think there's a team out there that will definitely sign him.
Why wouldn't the Bengals sign him?
Well, because I think the team that signs him thinks that they're close, and I mean, because I'm not sure how many tickets this guy sells anymore. This isn't the old Le'Veon where he puts butts in seats. I don't think he puts butts in seats, but I think he's a good insurance policy if you have a young running back that you're high on, but you're not sure if his durability and you think you're this close. I think you add him. So maybe I'm not sure of the depth. It's off the top of my head, like a Seattle Seahawks, because Chris Carson's hurt every single year, and I could see them bringing him in and thinking, man, if we lose Chris Carson, it'd be awfully nice to have Le'Veon Bell backing us up or backing him up. I think there's certain teams around the league that could I'm trying to think if there's any other that jumped to the top of my head, but maybe even the Rams. Did the Rams bring in somebody recently behind Cam Akers? Something's telling me that they did, but if they didn't, that would be another option that they could bring in. So yeah, I think there's teams out there, but I think they have to think of themselves as being really close, and that, man, if we just had some depth at the running back position, just in case our lead guy gets same with the Chiefs and why they brought him in, because they were worried about Clyde Edwards-Helaire getting hurt down the stretch, because especially if you have a rookie running back, it's a lot longer season, especially this year after a shortened 2020 season in college. And then now they're adding an additional 17th game. It's a long season for a position like the running back. You need to have depth there. So I'm glad the Ravens got two guys that I think are bell cows, because if you lose your lead guy, I mean, I know they think the running back position's expendable, but man, it's just not, in my opinion, it's just not. I mean, you can't just give anyone the ball and expect him to run for 5 yards a carry, where I think Le'Veon Bell, if he's healthy in the right system, I think he can still do it. And also fantastic receiver still. Yeah. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. I mean, he's still a good route runner. The question only is, injuries, and does he have much burst left?
Yeah, I actually think the biggest thing for him is just desire.
Yeah.
It's just
he's made enough money, right?
Yeah, yeah, I guess so.
He's made a lot of money. I don't know if it's enough, but he's made a lot.
Right. He's made a lot of money, and I know he has a lot of stuff that he does off the field. He's considered himself a legit rap artist, and he's got a lot of Yeah,
I know he rapped, but I didn't think anybody.
I think he's got a few albums out now. I know he's got one, if not two.
Good for him. I haven't heard him on the radio yet, but I mean, I don't listen that often.
Dame Dollar, that's the guy to listen to right there, Glenn.
That's what I hear. I hear he's the best athlete rapper out there. And I tell you what, I heard him on the commercial. Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, you know who the best of all time is, though, right?
Oh, as far
TBE and athlete rappers.
Who?
Shaquille O'Neal.
Hey, Kobe, tell me how my ass tastes. Kobe, I remember when he won that championship with Miami. That's when he was rapping in the club. Kobe, tell me how my ass. Now, that didn't age well, because rest in peace, Kobe. We love some Kobe. But yeah, that's the only rapping I remember hearing from Shaquille was when he won that first title in Miami. So hype. But yeah,
I just think of him in Kazam.
Oh, yeah, I remember him in Kazam. Big old self.
Oh,
big
yeah.
Goofball.
Absolutely.
One of the treasures of America is Shaquille O'Neal, in my opinion.
Absolutely. No doubt.
He's incredible. Oh, I'm sorry. You thought you were going somewhere. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm interested to see if there's any of those great players get picked up, because there still seems like, I mean, if I look at that, if I look at the list, there's still a good amount of free agents out there. Le'Veon Bell isn't the only big name out there. That's
Justin Houston's still out there. Melvin Ingram's still out there.
When are these balls going to start dropping? I mean, they're not waiting for a June 1 deadline. What's going on out here? Why are we still seeing so many guys Morgan Moses, you brought him up before the show started. This is an offensive tackle in a league where seemingly everyone needs an offensive tackle. He's only 30 years old. That's not an old guy. Now, I think if the Ravens were still in the market, he's other really big guy. I mean, you just popped up Todd Gurley's still out there. There's no doubt he's still a guy that can give you something to a potential team out there. They could look to add some depth at the running back spot. Richard Sherman was just rated, I think, the 11th best cornerback in the league by PFF. Yeah. This guy's a free agent. Now, I know he has a smaller, he can't go to just any old team. He has to go to a team that plays a specific scheme. I think he's a cover 3 corner. He's not a guy
he's already certainly not going back to Seattle. So that takes one team off the list.
I'm not so sure about that. I heard Mina Kimes, who's a big Seattle Seahawk fan. She's hyping it up. She's hopeful to see a reunion. I mean, I, like you, would be surprised, but just the fact that it's out there means, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but I think it means something, the fact that it's being talked about. Geno Atkins, does he have anything left at 33 years old? That's a big question. Kawan Short, another guy, slobber knocker inside, not really known for athleticism. So at 32 years old, I don't think you're losing, I don't think he's losing a ton of, by getting a little bit older. The traits, what happens with Danielle Hunter? I mean, because Danielle Hunter is a stud pass rusher. I don't think he fits in Baltimore because he's a defensive end in the 4-3, but stud, he's going to get moved eventually. June 1 came. Where's he going? He could go to the AFC and make a team a lot stronger, especially if he goes to a team like the Titans, who just lost Jadeveon Clowney. There's a lot of guys out there that can still make a difference. Quan Alexander's just 27 years old, had a bunch of injuries, but still a young man, and certainly impactful in the middle. There's a bunch of guys out there. When do you start seeing these guys go? I mean, what are they waiting for?
Well, one of our commenters mentioned that they're avoiding OTAs, which is fair.
You can do that. You can do that while signing. I mean, look, is Kevin Zeitler here?
Right. It's fair, certainly, but yeah, I think that teams are taking every inch of leverage they have with these guys and knowing, look, they're going to let them sit and sit and sit and sit and sit, and their price is going to go down and down and down and down. And I just don't see it going any other way. And so I don't think teams mind being in this situation where they know a guy is sitting out there. Somebody, jokingly laughed. That's a good one, J-Dub. Bring your boxing gloves. Earl Thomas is still on the market, but I know he's in some legal troubles right now as well. So I think that teams are going to be pretty reluctant to bring in Earl Thomas, certainly. Based on, not only his antics.
A lot of stuff. Yeah. I mean, he certainly doesn't endear himself to his teammates. I mean, everyone in Baltimore seemingly disliked the guy. And I'm sure the punch to the face of one of the most beloved players on the team didn't help. But I think before that, it was brewing with the absences on team meetings and missing, being late to practices and stuff. So the guy doesn't endear himself to his new teammates very well. So I can't imagine there's a bunch of teams looking for him. Especially he's getting older and the legal problems as well. But yeah, I think that is funny. Bring your boxing gloves, get your headgear on, because the dude will swing on you
at all times.
Yeah, dude will swing on you. No problems with it.
Now I wanna ask you another question though, Glenn. Specifically about the Ravens, because this is something I've seen swirled in the media. And DK, we're gonna get your take here in a bit, because we got to give you some time for DK's nuggets of wisdom at the end of the show, of course. But so make sure you're prepped. But
no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure, none at all. But do you think the Ravens, as the offense is constructed today, is there enough around Lamar Jackson to where he can win a championship, right? Like, is there enough, or is there still the excuse for some people to say, oh, well, they haven't done anything to surround Lamar Jackson with talent? Does he have enough around him, presently constructed offensive, not defensively, but presently constructed as the offense is? Or do they still need more?
I think that in theory there's enough. A lot of it though is what we're guessing and what we're projecting. It's Rashad Bateman. We think it's enough. He's a first round pick. First round picks are expected to perform year one, and it's not a project. These are guys that you expect to be on the field week one and be impact players. So in theory, Bateman addressed a big problem on the team. And in theory, so did bringing in a guy like Sammy Watkins. You needed a veteran in this locker room. And while he's only 27, he's certainly a veteran in this room. So I think in theory, but he could get hurt. I mean, so in theory, I think they did address the situation. They couldn't have done much more unless you want them to give $18 million to Kenny Golladay, or give a whole bunch of money to a guy who has a bunch of concerns similar to what the concerns are with Sammy Watkins. So I think in theory they did it, but nothing's, unless you bring in Julio Jones, there's nobody on the roster that is a guaranteed success this year. Like, and even Julio, to a point, if you want to tell me his injury history, but even with his injuries, and they've been, by the way, pretty recent and not as bad as you would assume by just listening to how much he's fought through injuries, because he missed a lot of practice, but he doesn't miss a lot of games if you look at it. But in theory, they've done enough. They brought in 2 receiving coaches, a passing game coordinator and / receiving coach, and then just a wide receiver coach. And then they brought in 2 draft picks. I mean, what else? And they brought in one of the better free agents out there. So I don't know how much more they could have done. So in theory, they have. But it's still a wait and see at this point. We got to see if Bateman can grow into his own. We've seen plenty of busts here at the wide receiver position, so we can't count on him just yet. Sammy Watkins, when he's healthy and he's been under Greg Roman, he's been really good. And same with Tylan Wallace. He's been a fantastic player for 3 years in college, but does that translate? Why was he a 5th round pick? Well, because he has some limitations. So in theory, they've done enough, but it's still a wait and see process right now. But I do like what they did on the upfront with bringing in Zeitler and bringing in Alejandro. I think they've done enough to seal up the offensive line. But, man, it's still a wait and see because one injury there, Stanley goes down, it could cause a cascading effect of everyone. So I think they've done enough, but we won't know until the bullets start flying.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting because I think I agree with a lot of your points. If I had to answer definitively, I think what you said is smart in that not sure what else they could have done. Now, they can go out and get Ertz. They can go, or not saying both, they can go out and get Julio. I don't think either of those things are beyond the realm of possibility in that their hands are tied and they can't do it. Now, do they want to do it or do they feel like they need to do it? Different questions. They can still go out and get one of those guys at the very least, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if that's what they feel like they need to do. But it's definitely really going to be interesting because I think there's a lot of pressure on the coaching staff, on Greg Roman to get it right.
Lots of pressure on him. Just look at our comments.
Yeah, no, absolutely. To get it right in the sense of the passing game. Like we said it before, and we're not Greg Roman defenders, even though we've turned into de facto Greg Roman defenders, that, it's hard for you to say, hey, fire Greg Roman. In the past 2 seasons, he's led the league in scoring. Mm-hmm. Like, what else is there, guys? You know what I mean? So I understand, but you need to round the offense out, right? You need to diversify its ability to score and not make it one dimensional. And so, or even 2-dimensional, right? Like it needs to be multifaceted in its approach.
We always compare the NBA. It's like a team that's great at shooting threes. Well, one day those threes might not be hitting. So what are you going to do? How are you going to get the ball in the bucket if the threes aren't hitting? Same thing with the run. If the run game isn't working, what are you going to do to get the ball in the end zone and score points? Yep. Like you said, you got to get that balance. Yeah,
I don't agree with Stephen A on too much, but he talks about in the NBA playoffs when the game slows down and backsides get tight, like you need someone that's going to get you a bucket. Yep. Like that's what it is at the end of the day. And so, I agree with you 100% in that, we need to have guys like that and an offense, like a scheme that can get it done under a multitude of circumstances. And I wanted to bring that up because I started getting a little nervous. As you guys know, it is not my dad who is the sports fan in my house. When I was growing up, it was my mom. And so, and I respect her as a sports fan, as a Ravens fan. She has good knowledge. She's, grew up watching the game, and she probably knows more about the history of the Baltimore Colts and even the Baltimore Ravens than 9 out of 10 people walking around the street. Mm-hmm. And so, she said to me, I don't know if we can do it, as presently constructed. I started thinking, and so I wanted to bring that question up to you as well, because it got me a little nervous when she said that. I was like, I don't agree. I think we got it. Mm-hmm. I think we have enough, and guys need to show up. But every year, I said this before, every year in a championship run, guys that you don't expect preseason show up, right? But that needs to happen for it to get done. DK, I'm gonna pop you in here because we need some DK words of wisdom before we end this baby out. Mm-hmm. So, what's your take, man? What's your take on the question?
What's going on, guys?
What's up?
It's
liking the flag, by the way.
Oh yeah, thank you very much. I added a little bit to my room. I'm working my way up to Glenn.
That's right. We all are.
I might be adding some Colts stuff behind me. Be on the lookout for some changes in the background.
All right.
Yeah. So, I like to think of Lamar as an elite player, right? He's the best of the best. And, when you're talking about players at that level, at some point you stop talking about the talent around them, but because that player is supposed to elevate the talent around you. I don't know. I think back to like the Ravens when Ray Lewis was playing on that defense, people weren't talking about, beyond Ed Reed, I think I fell in love with watching the Ravens because I saw a leader on that defense help other players around him get better. And I think the same thing can be done on offense. I honestly feel like Lamar has the potential to be the same type of impact, have the same type of impact on the offense. So, when I look at the team, actually, I don't know. I mean, no disrespect, to Jimmy's mom, but I do think that he's got enough talent to say, all right, these are the guys that I can help elevate our play to win it all. So, but I do think that Lamar does have to continue to progress, as a player. and to take that step in helping other guys get better. So yeah, I do think they've got the talent.
And I think for Lamar, where it comes from is not his ability as a football player, but it's between the ears. Like his ability to lead, his ability to show up in big moments. Not that he hasn't done well in primetime games, but sometimes like the beauty of Joe Flacco was that he was just always the same. Like, you know, there could be 80,000 people watching the game. He could be in the Super Bowl, the biggest game of his life, or there could be no one in the backyard. And he's like, well, we're going to play some football today. Like, you know what I mean? So Lamar has to get a little bit of that in that, you know, he has to be a little bit unflappable is the word I'm looking for, right? Like the ability to just ride it out. It's just a football game, right?
Well, sometimes when you try too hard, you know, it backfires on you. But also, you know, DK brought up Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. My question is, I think Lamar's a great leader in that, you know, if you just follow his example, it's you know, you're going to be on the right path. But you know, they were such natural vocal leaders. I think no matter what Ray Lewis turned out to be, even if he was the manager at a grocery store, that grocery store was going to run like a mug. Like that grocery store was going to have the best produce. I mean, there's going to be enough check-in lines open. There's not going to be a long line in any of them because he's going to be pointing to. I don't know if Lamar will ever develop into that type of a leader because there not many can. And even Ed Reed, while not as rah-rah as Ray Lewis, such a fantastic communicator and ability to lead those around him in a little bit quieter way than Ray had. I'm not sure if Lamar, like, do you think, DK, that Lamar could ever develop to be that type of a leader, the vocal side of it?
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's also a progression. Like you get better at that as you go. But, you know, some leaders do have a natural ability where that's their thing. Now, you know, on the opposite end, like you don't get that kind of clout if you can't back it up with your skills, you know, so you could be rah-rah. So, I mean, hate to say it, but I'm going to throw out the name Tim Tebow, you know, like he is the loudest mouth out there. And on the college level, maybe that was good enough, you know, but on the NFL level, maybe that didn't pan out the same way. So, you know, you got to back it up with how good you are. You know, you got to back it up with your level of play on the field. And Lamar has that, you know, and so I'm really encouraged by Lamar talking about how he wants to be a little bit more vocal or say certain things at certain times, you know, when he's got a view or, you know, when he wants to put his foot down. Because honestly, like, you know, we could say all we want about how, you know, he may not be the most vocal guy, but I mean, look at his expressions out in the field. Whenever he's playing, he's playing with passion. I mean, you can see it spilling out of his like pores, you know. So if you can translate that into communicating those types of messages or whatever you're feeling to your players, I mean, that's how you get players to get better. So I see a path. I see a path for his passion and the way he plays the game to translate into, you know, what he says in the huddle or, you know, what he talks to guys about, you know, in the locker room. So I definitely feel like that's something that he's also progressing at in his game. And it's really encouraging.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you 100% in that some folks have more natural ability to do that, but it is also a craft. So it's something that you need to work at. You know, motivational speakers, they're one-trick ponies. They don't last long, right? Like same thing with coaches. John's had to reinvent himself every year. I think you have a saying on your shirt there, DK. You know, nobody cares, work harder. And that's just one of many things that John has deemed as mantras that he tries to instill in his team as a culture. And so I think, like you said, the groundwork is there for Lamar. And I agree with you. I vehemently disagreed with my mother in that I think the Ravens have what it takes. The roster as constructed is good enough. And I think we have the coaching staff to do it. And it's a great point that JDub 45 brings up. Was our 2012 roster when we win the Super Bowl ready before we won? Well, a lot of people would say no until we won.
Yeah. Especially when you look at how they ended the season. The end of the season in the wrong direction. Typically, you want to get hot going into the playoffs. They certainly weren't. I think they lost like 5 of 6 or 4 of 5 heading into the playoffs. And you know, I think a lot of people point to the Ray Lewis return and the motivation he brought, announcing that it was his final and last ride with the team. That maybe that was enough, and also the change at coordinator certainly impacted it, and bringing in McKinley. Or McKinney to play left tackle. I think there was a lot of factors, but yeah, I think that's a good point. And J-Dub, you never know you really got a team until you know near the end of the season, the playoffs. You really don't know what you got until those bullets are flying and those pressure moments are at the biggest. And do guys perform or do they wither under the pressure? That's the big question. I think we got the pieces, but we've also seen some of these pieces not really perform in the biggest of moments, being the playoffs. So yeah, it's gonna be something to watch for going into the end of this season, because there's a lot of guys that seemingly have something to prove. And I think one of them is maybe even a little Justin Tucker. I know we love Justin Tucker. We appreciate everything. He's such an incredible player, but he's missed some big kicks as of late. And I know that a lot of it was weather issues. There was a lot of extenuating circumstances that led to that, but I think he's one guy that could learn to, or could really hope to bolster his hopeful Hall of Fame resume, which as we see Adam Vinatieri's going in there, I think he's a shoe-in Hall of Famer. Is he the only kicker if he gets in? Is he going to be the only kicker in the league, or isn't there one with like half a foot in the league, if I remember correctly? But yeah, there's a lot of guys on the team, not just Lamar, that could look to shed off some of that big game, how you play. And I think Lamar's a big one, but I think there's other guys on the team that are looking to shed that perception.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. I can't wait see what happens this year. I had a blast tonight. Hopefully DK and Glenn, you guys had a blast as well.
Oh, I can't wait for some actual stuff happening, Jimbo.
I know. My goodness. We can't wait for it. Make sure you guys stay tuned. Give us a subscribe. Give us a like. Also, check out the shirts if you're wanting to rock the swag. We have them in the mail on the way, and so we will be rocking them here shortly. And we're really excited for you guys to do the same. Check out DK's article on Patreon as well. Stay tuned with the Ravens. Also, check us out on Newsbreak. If you guys have Newsbreak, find us there as well. You can find us anywhere. Listen to your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, anywhere, and we'll be in your ear. So we will talk to you guys soon.
See you.